So I want this closing speech to be very precise, to be very well detailed, to express a lot of hidden meaning that not a lot of people get when they think about or talk about trees. So I figured I couldn't say it better than any of the numerous great people who have said such important quotes and words about trees. So I used all the things they said and created a speech entirely of those quotes. And I managed to cut it all the way down from 25 minutes to just under 10.
Oh.
So bear with me.
Oh.
If you look closely at a tree, you'll notice that it's not some dead branches, just like our bodies. What we learn is that beauty and imperfection go together wonderfully. But as beautiful as trees are to look at, we don't see what grows underground. We don't see the roots. Trees must develop deep roots in order to grow strong and produce their beauty. But we don't see the roots. We just see and enjoy the beauty. In much the same way, what goes on inside of us is like the roots of a tree. Like branches of a tree, our lives may grow in many different directions, but our roots will always remain as one. Nothing is holier, nothing is more exemplary than a beautiful, strong tree. Yet it's not so much for its beauty that the forest makes its claim upon men's hearts, but for that subtle something, that quality of air that emanates from old trees, that so wonderfully changes and renews a weary spirit. When you enter a grove peopled with ancient trees, higher than the ordinary, and shutting out the sky with their thickly intertwined branches, do not the stately shadows of the wood, the stillness of the place, and the awful gloom of this doomed cavern then strike you with the presence of a deity? A tree is beautiful, but what's more, it has a right to life. Like water, the sun, and the stars, it is essential. Life on earth is inconceivable without trees. Trees, in turn, enrich our own lives throughout the year. They reassure us with the rustle of their leaves, give us shade to soothe our overheated bodies, and they bring delight to us when we watch birds nest in their boughs. However, it is only during the fall, when they wave flamboyant foliage that seems to demand our attention. We ourselves might sing and dance, make faces or give flower bouquets, trying so hard to be noticed. But did you ever notice that trees do everything we love that we do, except walk? We all travel the Milky Way together, trees and men, but it never occurred to me that trees are travelers in the ordinary sense. They make journeys, not very extensive ones, it's true, but our own little comings and goings are only little more than tree wavings, and many of them not so much. You can live for years next door to a big pine tree and be honored to have so venerable a neighbor, even when it sheds its needles all over your flowers, or wakes you in the dead of night dropping big cones onto your deck. So much so that a garden is scarcely a garden without trees. It therefore hardly needs to be said that time spent amongst trees is never wasted time. Trees are the earth's endless effort to speak to the listening heaven. In truth, mountains are not esteemed because they are high, but because they have trees. And great trees are envied even by the wind. And this, our life, exempt from the public haunt, finds tongues in trees, books in the running books, sermons in stones, and good in everything. That tree whose leaves are trembling, it is yearning for something. That tree so lovely to see that it acts as if it wants to flower, it is yearning for something. The tree is more than first a seed, then a stem, then a living trunk, and finally dead timber. The tree is a slow, enduring force, straining to win the sky. Few are altogether deaf to the preaching of pine trees. Their sermons on the mountains go to our hearts, and if people in general could be got to the woods, even for once, tribes and families and in forests and in groves, and somehow, even more, I revere them when they stand alone. They're like lonely persons. Evolution did not intend for trees to grow singly. Far more than ourselves, they are social creatures, and no more natural as isolated specimens than a man is, as a maroon sailor or a hermit. Yet not like those hermits who have stolen away out of weakness, but like great solitary men, like Beethoven or Nietzsche. In their highest boughs, the world rustles. Their roots rest in infinity, but they do not lose themselves. They struggle with all the force of their lives for one thing only: to fulfill themselves according to their own laws, to build up their own form, and to represent themselves as we never could. It's been said that trees are imperfect men, and they seem to bemoan their imprisonment in the ground, but they never have seemed so to me. I never saw a discontented tree. They grip the ground as if they liked it, and though fast when they travel as far as we do, they go wandering forth in all directions with every wind going and coming like ourselves, traveling around us 200 million miles a day, and through space, heaven knows how fast you fly. If you look at the trees and the birds and the clouds and the stars, and if you have eyes, you will be able to see that the whole of existence is joyful. Everything is simply happy. Trees are happy for no reason. They're not going to become prime ministers or presidents, and they're not going to become rich, and they'll never have a bank balance. A tree which has lost its head will never recover it again, and will survive only as a monument to the ignorance and folly of its tormentor. For its own part, a tree never hits an automobile, unless in self-defense, of course. And so the wrongs done to trees, the wrongs of every sort, are undeniably done in the darkness of ignorance and unbelief. When the light comes, the heart of the people is always right. We must come to realize that we have nothing to fear and a great deal to learn from trees. That tribe whose stint produces strengthening essences for us, soothing balms, and in whose gracious company we spend so many cool, silent, and intimate hours. Home is neither here nor there. It is within us, it is within trees, or it is nowhere at all. But if trees could scream, would it be so cavalier about cutting them down? We might, if they screamed all the time, for no good reason. Yet to the great tree-loving fraternity we all still belong. We love them with universal and unfeigned love, and all the things that grow under them and beneath them. So what an irony it is that these living beings whose shade we sit in, whose fruit we eat, whose limbs we climb, whose roots we water, whose restful lives, who so merely thus rarely give a second thought, are so poorly understood. We need to come as soon as possible to profound understanding and appreciation for trees and forests, and the vital role that they play, for they are among our best allies in the uncertain future that is unfolding. The battle we have fought, and are still fighting, for forests is part of the eternal conflict between right and wrong, and we cannot expect to see the end of it. Every good thing, great and small, needs defense. So we must count on watching and striving for trees such as these, and should always be glad to find anything so surely good and noble to strive for.